He's a student at Arizona State University, an up and coming journalist, and the first ever Williamsville media news correspondent. Wyatt Myskow, thank you for joining us this Friday morning.
You guys for having me.
It's been a huge week of pandemonium, Wyatt, as the nation and the world deals with the outbreak of the coronavirus. How has the Trump administration responded to this pandemic? What are they doing to address the economic crisis and to contain the outbreak of the virus?
Well, I think first thing to get out the way is that things have gotten really bad really fast. We're seeing it in nations that haven't taken serious precautions when this virus first started spreading in their own nations outside of China, such as Singapore and South Korea. We see it in places in Italy and now in the U.S. where this virus goes from a handful of cases to suddenly within a week we're having hundreds, thousands of cases and more deaths every day. So what the Trump administration has done is basically currently they've restricted travel to Europe, besides the UK, which is kind of funny, but we're not going to get into that too much. And they're starting to provide stimulus packages, or starting to vote Thursday on stimulus packages approved by Congress to start getting states that need the funding to start testing more to get people the services they need. So some of the things focus on paid leave, enhanced unemployment, food assistance for people that need it, and help for small businesses. I think some of the key points that the Trump administration
Now I know President Trump wanted to introduce a payroll tax cut. Do you know if that would be in the final bill? Because I know it's kind of unpopular in Congress.
I'm not sure exactly. They're voting Thursday today on the bill. As of right now,
Okay.
we don't know what's all going to be in the bill. Obviously, there's probably some things that taken out. I imagine the Democrats would approve most of what's in this bill based on my knowledge, just because it seems like things that Democrats won in the first place anyway, based on what we're seeing in the elections across the country in the past few years and in this current election. But
Right.
the main thing is seeing what the Republicans will do. But I imagine a situation like this, in a crisis situation, now that it has been declared and increasingly becoming more and more serious every single day, it's important for bipartisanship
Yes.
collaboration to be done in Congress so that more people don't die. Because you have to remember, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, conservative or liberal, independent, whatever you are, a disease like this, virus like this, it does not discriminate. It will come for
Yeah.
every district, for every state. And if you don't take the right
Yep.
precautions, every state will have serious issues from this. It will affect everyone.
Definitely, it is really affecting the nation as schools all across the country have canceled class and closed their doors, ushering in an an early spring break for students. In fact, you recently reported that your school has canceled class at Arizona State University. If you could just give our listeners some insight into what it's been like to actually report on this virus.
Yeah, so just some background information first. So, as you said, I'm maybe a rising journalist, like you said, maybe in some people's views, but I'm a state press reporter. The full time business science and technology reporter for the state press, which is Arizona State University's
Mm.
student newspaper. Um, Basically, just so you guys know what my role is and what I've been doing. So basically, what my job is, I'm basically one of the more professional. I'm actually paid by the state press, so I have more responsibilities, more duties, more roles. When breaking news happens, I'm one of usually or three people who's the one taking that story. So at the beginning of the semester, our first Sunday, every Sunday we meet in our Tempe newsroom. We have multiple newsrooms across our campuses, and our main one. And it was the same day that Kobe
Wow.
Bryant unfortunately passed away. And we were kind of freaking out about that. But then we get a notification, because obviously we have all the Twitter lists from every journalist across the Phoenix area pretty much, saying that the coronavirus case has
Mm.
is now in Arizona. And that's pretty
Right.
all right. That's crazy. That's big news for us. But then even bigger than that, the first case in Arizona, the fifth case in the nation, I believe it was, is an ASU related person. We still don't know if they were a student or a faculty.
Wow.
Yeah, that information has not been given to us. But it was someone from ASU. And so we immediately start to scramble. Editors immediately start calling all their sources. We have reporters, one of our senior reporters, Grace, We send her out to go do some stuff. We send one of our other reporters to go to a press conference that's immediately being held about an hour after this news breaks about the situation. They yell at me to go out into the campus and start finding people and start talking to them about
Right.
what's your opinion on this? How does this make you feel? That's what happens that's in the end of January. For that first week, it is chaos kind of in our newsroom and across campus. People are freaking out. Is it going to
Right.
spread? Is it going to be contained? Are people going to die? Because the virus is
Hmm.
very little at that time was known about it. Still is, but we know more now. And that first week was kind of chaos. People were going crazy, and we did a lot of coverage on that. The month of February, though, really cooled off. Um, there was no new confirmed cases. ASU was not giving us information. And as a reporter, I think one of the things that,
Right.
because you asked about what reporting this has been like, what I've learned as a journalist over time is that the government and big institutions will only give you what they want to give you. They won't give you any information that might not put them in the best of light or might not be
Right.
information that they just want out there, even if it might be good information. So we hear a lot of things, have tons of sources. I have plenty of people giving me information about what was going on at that time. It was just getting confirmation on things. Um, someone says they're doing this and this, but this is from a source that's hearing this from people who are involved in it, so they're not like a direct. And then we ask university officials, and we get no comment from them, or they say, or they don't even respond. So what could be potential stories don't end up happening. So for the month of February, it may not have, if you look at our coverage, most of our coverage has been end of January and in the past week of March happened in Arizona. February is kind of a dead spot not because
Right.
we weren't reporting, but because there was just no information to get. And so that was what February was like. This past week, last week, starting on Monday, I believe. Yeah, last Monday. Um, there was another press conference by the head of the Arizona Department of Health Services and Governor Doug Ducey, governor of Arizona. And there was a second presumptive positive case. What presumptive positive means that it's not confirmed by the CDC. It's been done by state testers of the coronavirus, COVID-19. And they've
And tell
confirmed it,
me
but it
this.
still needs confirmation.
I'm sorry. Do you have any update on? You said there's so right now there's like two cases right in Arizona,
No,
and do
there
you
is.
know if these do you know if these people are alive or how are they doing?
Okay, so yeah, I was getting that. So basically, Monday we got a second case. As of right now, there are now 9 cases in Arizona. The update will come at
Wow.
9 a.m. today. I expect it fully to be higher than that. But so
Hmm.
basically we went from one case for a whole month to second case Monday, I believe. I then believe it was 3 cases by the next day. I think Wednesday we hit 5. I think this Friday we hit 6, and yesterday we hit 9. And
Wow.
currently 100 people have been tested in Arizona. 9 of them have been confirmed, or 2 of them have been confirmed positive cases. 7 of them are presumptive positive, and we're awaiting the results of 32.
Wow.
So, in my opinion, I'd expect it to go into double digits. Currently, though, I know the ASU, the first case, the ASU student or faculty member, whoever they were, um, they have been cleared. They have been discharged. I believe they are good to go. They're fine now.
Wow.
But everyone else is still in hospital. No one has died yet, as far as we're aware. Could change in 45 minutes, but I don't think it will. Hopefully it doesn't.
Right. Right.
But I know one of the cases is a 90-year-old man, and as we know, the
Yeah. So
people who are more at risk are older and are people with underlying conditions such as diabetes, heart problems, and lung problems,
right.
or any other recovering diseases you might be discussing.
Um, this is amazing insight, amazing, and that's why I got you as a correspondent. Why? But the pandemonium is just it's been fraught, and as we look at this race for president, um, it's been rolling forward the past few weeks, but like everything else in the world, it seems even the campaigns seem to be having to adapt as the country tries to tame these large gatherings of people, in which they say it spreads more easily. How will the remaining campaigns, which I believe right now it's Bernie, Biden, and Trump on the Republican side, how are they dealing with this, and what are the potential effects on the campaign trail as we move forward?
I mean, to put it simply, in my opinion, this is kind of huge. The COVID-19 crisis that we're in now, it's now a pandemic. It's going to get worse, as I've said. The CDC has made clear that things will get worse, more cases will happen, more people will die before it gets better. And this is going to be a huge test
Wow.
to the Trump administration, in my opinion. Um,
Right.
this is going to be his crisis. Some people have called it like it's going to be his Katrina. It's going to be his Pearl Harbor kind of thing. Not
Right.
quite to the extent of some of those events, but it is something that's going to significantly alter his campaign. Trump's betting on an American first vision. He's betting on a booming economy, right? Those are the things that presumably he was going to go into the 2020 election for when the November election came. Those are going to be the things he's going to have on his resume, basically, and say, hey, look what I've done. We've had four
Yeah, and
years straight.
if I could
Continue.
stop you right there, because when you mentioned the American First, his response actually, as you mentioned, was to block off people coming in from Europe, right? These travel bans, which we've heard this before, way before the pandemic. We actually have had to deal with that, and so it's actually interesting that this is sort of a continuing strategy of his of isolationism, which is that American First policy. And he's continuing with that even through a global pandemic. And who knows if that's the best thing to do? But go ahead, because I just wanted to point that out for the
Well,
listeners.
just to kind of address on that issue, this ban on European people coming into our country, I think it's interesting because it's not necessarily the wrong decision to do something like this. Other countries have done similar things and seen uh, decent results from it when they lock down, when they shut out visitors, when they restrict movement, because
Right.
obviously the virus can't spread as easily when you do that. The problem is, though, for us, is that we're restricting traveling from other countries when it's too late for that to really do anything for us. Community
Yeah,
spread.
because it's already here.
Yeah, exactly. Community spread is what they call it when a case is confirmed, but you haven't been to an area that's affected, and they're unaware of anyone that you've been in contact with who has the virus. So they don't know how you got the virus. They don't know how you got the coronavirus. And so we're
Right.
seeing that more and more in the US. It's too late for one of these European bans to really stop anything from happening. It might save a few cases in the long run, maybe, but really, I mean, it's a bit too late for something like that to change it. But to get more onto the
Right.
election part of this, it's going to be a huge test to me. Like I was saying, I think the important thing that Trump was really betting on when November came was having a really great economy still. The economy is currently not doing so great. Obviously, we have a lot of time for it to recover, but if this
Yeah.
ends up even being bigger than it is now, if this drags on for months and it continues to decline and we do enter a recession, it'd be very hard for him to get reelected. I think for a lot of people who are on that kind of edge where they're not sure what they're going to do yet, they maybe don't like Trump's personality, but they like his policy. It's hard to
Yeah.
continue to say that when we're in a recession.
Exactly.
Um, whereas before, if he was to have that great economy, I'd say it would have been a 50-50 battle in my
A potential implication on that election, though, and I imagine you've studied a lot on this. What are the chances that this virus is actually going to like wane in the summer, because they're talking about it being like the flu, which loses power, I guess, in the summer and then comes and reemerges in the fall. That would be interesting in terms of how the economy recovers before the election. Just go ahead and answer that for me.
Personally, I'm not a scientist. I don't know the exact answer to that. I think we still know so little about this virus, about
Right.
COVID-19, that we're not sure how long it can continue. This is what I'll say though. We've seen in Italy and China now, the two countries that have had it worse, is that it kind of goes into this brief, okay, hey, there's this new virus. A few people have it. It's not a big deal for a while. We're seeing this in the US now, like I mentioned earlier, and then suddenly it starts to spread. But as we've seen with China, when you lock down, when you enter what the US is starting to enter now, where you lock a lot of stuff down, you restrict
Right.
movement of people in the country, you keep people indoors, and you start testing. Slowly but surely, it slows its spread. It's still spreading in China, but not nearly at the rate it was about a month ago. I think
Right.
you'll see something similar. I think we have a month left of this being a really serious issue, and then it will start to slow down in the U.S. Does that mean,
Wow.
though, that it will completely be gone? by summer or the November election. I don't know.
Right.
Could it get worse, die down, and spike back up? I mean, maybe we won't have a vaccine or a cure for this for at least probably about a year,
Wow.
most likely, unless he's able to do something amazing. That's everything I've seen. Some people are saying it could be sooner, but I've seen nothing from the experts, people who are actually the ones making it, saying they'll be sooner than that. Of course, they might be saying, giving themselves more time just in case,
Right.
they don't want to
Low
say they
expectation.
have it in 9 months. And then a year goes by and you have nothing. So they're giving themselves more time, I'm sure. But still, this is not something we're going to be seeing anytime soon.
Wow.
And the possibility it could pop up again, maybe. But by then, people will have a bit more immunity to it, so it wouldn't be as bad as
And as we look at this race, I mean, I guess the most thrilling news would be, and I'm going to kind of move forward from the coronavirus. In any other circumstance, the most thrilling news would be the seemingly declining campaign of Senator Bernie Sanders. Now, how in the world did this happen? This man had the rallies of tens of thousands of people. He seemingly rebuilt and was adding to the supporters he had inspired since 2016. Help our listeners understand the status of this campaign right now, why he's pushing forward despite the delegate lead of Biden continually climbing, and what that actually means for the primary and the race in general.
So I think to start with the first question of how this happened, I think
Yeah.
Senator Bernie Sanders in 2016 was a new, fresh face. He was big, he was huge, and it excited a lot of voters who felt left out, who felt maybe the Democratic Party wasn't representing them well. I think another problem in 2016 too was that Hillary Clinton herself was, you're going to disagree with this, but in a lot of people's views was worst possible candidate. A lot of people who would not have voted Trump otherwise, or
Right.
would have, done things differently if it had been someone besides Hillary Clinton. And so I think a lot of people really stuff. I think in this election, he's not a professional face. He has Biden is, I think, a slightly more popular overall person who is saying he doesn't have the baggage Hillary has, even if it's maybe not all of it's justified for Hillary Clinton. He's still Biden, I mean, has less of that.
Right.
I think another part that Bernie lost, if you're looking at the delegate council where he's getting the votes from, he betted really hard on a young vote. He betted really hard to get a lot of the votes he got last time. That's some of the more less educated whites, maybe some higher educated whites, still college educated, that he got last race that he's not getting now.
Yeah, the young people, they still not turning out, man. What's up with that, man?
Exactly. Couldn't tell you. I think a lot of it for young people is that it's hard. If you're a full-time college student or you just got a job and you're trying to, make your way, I think one of the things when you first get a job and maybe the career that you've been trying to get for a long time, is you want to prove yourself in journalism a lot. It's kind of like this known fact that like young people go above and beyond what they have to do because they worry about losing their job or they worry about not maybe moving up. And so young people want to prove themselves.
Mm.
And, so they focus on other things besides. So I think that's as to why Bernie's still pushing forward. I think it's the same reason why he continued to push forward in 2016 when it seemed clear that he probably wouldn't get the nomination.
Right.
It's to continue to spread the message. Like the debate this Sunday in Phoenix. We know that Biden will most likely be the nominee. But Bernie's going to be there because he's not, I don't think necessarily because he feels like he has to attack Biden himself or the Democratic establishment, which I'm sure he will, but that won't be the main focus. I think what he'll largely be attacking and criticizing is the same things he's always been criticizing, what our nation kind of stands for. He's going to be talking about healthcare. He's going to be talking about the issues at large that he feels that have been his message for the past years. He's going to continue to try and get people to believe in that and maybe inspire people in 2024 if that's what's necessary. And continue to spread that.
But that's going to be very, very interesting, his approach, whether or not he focuses on trying to tear down Biden in the last days, even though it looks like he might become the nominee, it's more likely, or will he sort of, I don't know, you can't go up on the debate stage and say kumbaya because it's a debate, but the more robustness of the attacks is very interesting to see. and then maybe who knows if Biden will withstand or how he reacts. Because as we know, this is the first debate where it's only gonna be two of them. Biden hasn't had the best debate performances, but so it's gonna be very. That's one of the things to watch. Very key things to watch in this race. Before I let you go, is there anything else we should be looking forward to in the next week to come?
All I'd say is a big part of our conversation today has been about COVID-19, the coronavirus. I would say if you're in an area that has been affected or hasn't been affected, keep an eye on it from your local health officials or your state health officials. I think a lot of the good work that's being done for this is from the states themselves, not necessarily from the federal government so far, such as in Arizona, doing some big things. I think that will help in the long run. Focus on what's going on.
Big time for local press too.
Yeah, this is a big time to stay informed because this is a serious health issue. It could have serious ramifications for you and your family in the long run. And just stay alert. You know, if there's a lot of cases in your area, don't go outside as much. Wash your hands. Avoid sick and people in general, really. Just continue to keep an eye on that and be prepared for what it could get better, but it's very likely it will get worse, and you should stay prepared for that.
Okay. Wyatt Myskow, Arizona State University. I am so glad you joined me today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you. Look forward to the next time.
Coming up next, closing remarks, because it is the last break of the day.